Hello, my name is Patrycja Rozwora, and you're listening to Kitchen Conversations. This podcast aims to open up the mysterious and vague Eastern Bloc to a broader audience. For each episode, I'm inviting one artist or researcher, and together we explore their relation, interest, and urgency to create within the framework of the post-Soviet sphere. Here, I also wanted to thank everyone for listening and supporting this podcast. It's very rewarding to see that with every episode, the community is growing, which was, of course, the whole point of this platform. If you are a regular listener, you might want to check out my Patreon page, where you can support my work and help me develop this amazing but time-consuming project. You can do that on patreon.com/kitchenconversations. Today, live from Berlin, my kitchen table was joined by the music artist Valerija Kravale. Valerija calls herself a Berliner and a Russian native speaker. Her music career started as a street performer in 2017, after which she released her first instrumental EP, Stuck in Melancholy. At the moment, she is in the process of finishing her bachelor in guitar playing in Berlin. Through her impressionistic vocal lines, guitar soundscapes, and electronic dark wave, Valerija wants to reconnect with her past and explore the post-Soviet nostalgia, calling her music post-Soviet pop. During our kitchen conversations, we mainly discussed her concert set, Constant Flux, devoted to the Free Belarus movement, as well as her just-released EP, We Are Betrayed. Throughout the entire conversation, you will also hear us speak about the aversion to the Russian language shared across the former Soviet states, an important but not so often discussed aspect of the complex Eastern European history. Please welcome Valerija Kravale. Welcome, Valerija, to Kitchen Conversations.
Hello.
Super nice that we could meet today and also in real life. So nice to see real people.
Yeah, during COVID, it's
exactly.
Nice thing.
We met through our common friend Tasha.
Yes.
Big shout out to Tasha.
Hello, Tasha.
Nice that she introduced me to you. And actually, I didn't know that your practice is also connected to the topics of kitchen conversations. So super nice that we could combine that as well.
Yeah.
So back to our first meeting, I think maybe a week ago.
Like a week ago, yeah.
We had a walk in Prenzlauer Berg in Berlin.
Yeah.
And at some point, of course, the question came where are you from? From my side. Mm-hmm. It always has to come at some point when you meet new people, especially in this kind of international circle. And then you said you're from Berlin, but
yes.
your mother tongue or the language you speak mostly is Russian. And that kind of intrigued me, that you connect so much to a language and not so much maybe to a geographical space. So if we could start with that, how is your relation to the language?
I think it's just the fact that I didn't really... It's not that we are not... Where I come from, it's not that we are not allowed to speak it. It's just... It's like almost a crime to speak it, and people don't like it, and they perceive you as an aggressor. And of course, I think it's in every post-Soviet space that nowadays, unfortunately, people perceive Russian as something bad and aggressive. And when I moved out of there, my first stop in my journey was the Netherlands. And I studied in the Royal Academy of Art in The Hague. And when I had to do my photography projects, I just realized that I can finally do that. I can finally start exploring my own culture, language, and family and connections. And I can get educated in that language. And I'm still in the process, kind of recovering from the trauma that I had to be someone else to be integrated into the society of the country where I come from. So now I just prefer to say that I'm Russian and I come from Berlin, because I'm trying kind of to forget what happened my first 18 years of my life, because it was I always felt like misplaced and miserable and like a white crow, although I always try to integrate. I speak the language, I know the culture really well. Yeah, that's why ich bin ein Berliner, but I'm Russian. That's the answer, yes.
Nice. It's interesting that you kind of try to transgress this hate towards their language. And even like, I think in one of your texts, I read that you use Russian as the lingua franca of the post-Soviet countries, which it is kind of, but it's kind of being, I guess, at some crowds of people, it does evolve this kind of traumatic feelings, and maybe that's why some people try to not avoid it exactly, and you do the opposite. Also, we will speak about how you use it in your music, in your performances. Interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just if you think about it, it's just the language, right? Why would we have this stigmas about something that shouldn't be stigmatized?
And it's beautiful language.
Exactly, it's a very rich language, and the culture, and I don't see, and so many people speak it still, and there are so many Russians in so many countries, and the Russian language opens doors. It's true. Like, look at the map. It's like half of the world in the end speaks Russian. Kind of similar with the Arabic, I would say, but the Arabic has its dialects and stuff. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just see it that way.
How come there are so many Russian speakers in Berlin? Do you know that? Like, where are they coming from? And what's so intriguing for those people in Berlin?
I mean, during the 90s, when Russia also became independent from Soviet Union, the whole capitalism movement started, and Russians always saw Germany as a state that they won the war in. But they also saw Germany as this great country that has good production, good cars like Mercedes, BMW, Audis. So for many Russians, it was just a ticket to go to the paradise land where they would get a good job and a better life. Same as many Russians tried to fled to America during the 90s. But I think Germany also had programs, like special programs for the Russian people, especially in the Eastern Germany, that they could stay here and get integrated. And of course, a lot of Russians who came here, they live on Hartz IV, so they don't work. I know a lot of people like this, unfortunately, that they use this, the state-run programs, because let's be honest, none of the countries in the world are as generous in that sense as Germany is, that it can just sustain you without working and paying taxes. So it's really that by statistics, like every 10th, 11th Berliner is Russian. Yeah.
Just to clarify, when we speak about Russians, do we speak like people from the country of Russia or Russian speakers?
Both. I think it's the people who I speak about, the ones who fled in the 90s and the beginning of 2000s, when Russia was getting incredibly, before Putin came to power, it was just a big mess. It was just a very poor country. Everything was getting stolen, and the 90s. Yeah, that kind of Russians. And also now there is a wave of Russian-speaking Ukrainians after 2014. I can see that because I work as a guitar teacher only for Russian-speaking people in Berlin. And I have a lot of Ukrainians, Russian-speaking Ukrainians, who are like this. Yeah, they fled Ukraine because of...
during after the Maidan revolution, right? 2014.
Yeah.
So you are, Valeria, a musician or a music artist, as we discussed before, and aspiring academic.
Yeah.
You have like big plans for studying a master and a PhD.
Yes.
And being quoted in all post-Soviet
exactly.
literature.
Professor Kravale, I think it really sounds, yeah.
Nice. But mostly your practice is surrounded by music and sounds and performances. That's really nice because, as I told you, I didn't have a musician yet. I spoke once about music with Stefan, about Manele. Yeah, I'm curious how your experiences as a music working within the topics of post-Soviet and Eastern European stories and narratives. And I would like to start by discussing your concert set, Constant Flux, that you created as a response to the Free Belarus movement.
Yeah.
I think everyone knows what we are referring here to, but yeah, it was a movement that started in August 2020 as a response to the forged elections of Alexander Lukashenko. And I think back in August and a few months after, the protests were very big. Now I think they spread a bit, but still there's a lot of people resisting the totalitarian state they live in. But yeah, you responded with a concert, and tell us something more about it.
Actually, Constant Flux is something even bigger than... Of course, it's devoted completely to the movement, and I've been one of the people who organized protests here in Berlin in August. Constant Flux is more about a revolution, like a feminine way of doing protests and making some paradigmatic shifts, because I thought about it, and in the whole Eastern Europe, all kinds of revolutions and changes were always like man-led and patriarchic in a way. So I just wanted to think about this topic, and I realized that there is a lot to say, and I don't think that anyone has ever said it out loud and kind of celebrated the fact that Belarus movement is about the women of Belarus. And I started to do research and why they emerged, not just politically, but also from the point of sociology. I just started to think about the stages of how it goes. It can be applicable in any revolution. But for me, I think the 4 stages are naivete, emergence, then goes into resistance, and then the Einheit, so like the unification. It's very hopeful, right? The outcome of the revolution. Yeah, and I kind of based it on the whole idea of Blumer, Tilly, and I forgot the third surname.
Mans. These
yes.
were like the sociologists, men, right?
Yeah, they were all men, yes. But yeah, they wrote a paper, I think back in 1920s even, about how to think about
a social movement or a revolution.
Any social movement, exactly. And I just kind of took their stages, looked at them, and realized that it all starts with naivete, because we all have a naivety that things are gonna get better, and even if it's bad now, it's just gonna get better. We don't have to do anything. And then kind of people get enough, and then there is this emergence. And after the emergence of a revolution, of course, the existing government tries to push the people down. So there is a resistance. And in my view, and in my hopeful view, the last and the 4th stage is the Einheit, so the unification, where everyone is happy in the end, and there are rabbits in the grass. But sometimes it doesn't happen like this, but I truly hope that it will. For Belarus, it will.
And as you said, let's say looking at history, the movements were rather led by men, or that's what we know through the mainstream histories, right?
Yeah.
But actually, following the Belarus revolution, actually also in my country, in Poland, there was a lot of social movements led by women and also queer communities. So I think this is a bit shifting, and perhaps even the movement in Belarus was almost like the movement which started all those other revolutions in that part of the world. Perhaps.
Yeah, I also think that, because it kind of gave a chance for those for women and for different kinds of minorities to
speak up, right?
To speak up, yeah. We all saw what's happening in Belarus. I mean, look, there were protests all around the world. Like it was very moving and very touching. Yeah.
So in your concert set, that's how you wrote about it. So that's how I'm referring to it. But
yeah, it's a concert set.
Yeah, the Constant Flux. You spoke about this 4 stages of the social movement, but you of course translated them through sounds and music. And let's speak about that.
The naivete. I approached it non-diegetical. So like the way I think about the words, so it's kind of a mood music in the end. But I also see it as a soundscape of the word that I gave to the piece. So naivete is like this very light song that starts with these guitar percussions that I do, and I use Claude Debussy's gamelan scale, which is like historically, it's not really common in European music to use, because gamelan scale is something that comes from Java, so Javanese from Indonesia. And Claude Debussy was kind of the first guy in Europe who overtook it and applied it to his music. That's why this first piece sounds so, naive and light and very hopeful. During the naivete, at some point, the scale goes into this harmonic minor. So harmonic minor is this dissonant sound that you hear. And I use a lot of dynamics. So I go from really quiet to really loud to just outline how I see emergence. So I think it goes from this small point to something really big and loud. And with resistance, I approached it as I always do it by music, first with just guitar and vocals. And if I feel that I need to add some instruments, then I do. But in past a year and a half, I have become minimalist in that sense. So I kind of use only my guitar and my voice. I studied, actually, this is one of the pieces that I was struggling the most, because the guitar line there is studies of Jeff Buckley's arpeggios. I basically took a lot of Jeff Buckley's guitar parts and put them together. And it's actually, the whole piece is just 3 chords. It's just the way I play them and the voicings. The vocal line, I thought, well, I have to connect somehow to the Belarus, right? So the vocal line is just a profane melody of official anthem of Belarus. So da 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 da. So I just changed the rhythm a bit, switched it a bit. I put my own words, and the words basically, it's like a blackout poetry, a white poetry, where I say that all the people want to live and we all have a chance to be happy. It's like full with lots of different metaphors and stuff. Yeah, so that's like, let's say, a counterpoint of the whole piece. A bit of release as well from this intense looping that goes on before. And then there is the 4th stage, the Einheit. So, and the Einheit is where I literally connect all the elements that I have in the previous 3 pieces. And I also sing, there is only one line throughout the 4th piece. Мы будем жить вместе страдать, which means we will live together, we will suffer. And as I wrote in my artist statement, it's like a sentence to the people of post-Soviet space. And again, there is 2 meanings. A sentence in a way that it's like vocabulary sentence, so just a phrase. But it's also like a sentence, like a punishment. That even though we will live together, we will suffer, we have to remember that we are in this kind of together. It's not just like this movement is not unique to Belarus or like Ukraine or Russia. I think it's just a problem of all post-socialist New East countries that are just trying to find themselves. And there's a clash of generations. There's a clash of values, of course. Again, there's this transgression of different values. But it's just, we will live together, we will suffer. It's very true, at least for me.
In relation to the suffering, I had to think of like the recording and the looping you did of a spoon in your teacup or coffee cup.
Yeah.
For me, this was quite a symbolic thing. I don't know how you imagine it, but for me, it really resonated with some kind of chain sounds or some restraints or suffering. And since, of course, knowing that the movement in Belarus became very violent, I somehow immediately connected the sound of the spoon, this kind of metallic ringing.
Yeah.
But this was maybe only my very far-stretched association.
The idea of the whole, first of all, I had to do this set for my bachelor's for a solo performance class, and I had to do it between October and January. And I think in November, our teacher we started online, of course, and in November, our teacher told us we can have assessment both in building, so both on stage or online. And I opted to do it online. So online means that you have to record it but you also have to make a kind of a stage, think about the set where you're going to do it. And because I knew that the COVID restrictions are not going to allow me to do it inside, which happened in the end. So my idea initially was that I do the concert in my own bedroom. And it's kind of this hidden protest, right? Because also the Belarus protest is mostly happening in the kitchens and in the backyards of some buildings. That's why the spoon, because it's like you're in your bedroom, you're drinking tea, right? So it was kind of, for me, it was more in relation to home, that I'm staying at home and just, this is what I do.
Definitely, I felt really this domestic and also perhaps the feminine attributes, no? Like
with all the flowers.
Speaking, no? Like the kitchen and exactly the flowers and this kind of more, we would think, feminine attributes.
Yeah, I've been thinking really long about all the elements because I wanted to be myself, but I wanted to be strong in my femininity. Yeah, I think I managed in the end. It looks very fragile, but then if you get into it, then there is something that sticks out that makes a statement. Yeah, and I got a very good mark for it.
Yay!
Yes, my teacher was really happy.
Nice. Back in October last year, you also released your first EP. No,
actually, it's not the first EP, but it's the first EP in Russian. Yes.
All right. Yes. So perhaps you feel that's like the closest to this work for now.
Rebirth, kind of, yeah.
And it's titled "We Are Betrayed." That's, of course, the English translation because The album name is in Russian and the songs as well. And it entails 4 tracks.
Yeah.
And people can listen to it on SoundCloud.
I think everywhere. Not that I think it is everywhere, like iTunes and Spotify. I just don't use any of those platforms, so that's why. Yes, I sent you the SoundCloud link.
Yeah, perfect. So I will include those, of course, also in the show notes. But yeah, first of all, congratulations. It's super nice that you released your own music, especially in quite a tough time of like pandemic.
Yeah, it was,
Especially like with releasing and everything. No, I think to release new music now is so difficult because you cannot play it live anywhere. And
and I mean, people are just kind of done. They don't want to listen to sad and melancholic vibe music that I have. But I decided it's a good time, especially with all the things with Belarus. I just felt that, it fits. The timing fits.
So what about the title, We Are Betrayed?
It was also made up. I use a lot. I have a problem with Russian language. It sounds very weird, but I have a problem with when I write poems. So I have to use a lot of different methods. And one of the methods that I use is this blackout poetry. So I just take a page of the book and I just circle the words that I like and I put them together.
I did that exercise also in my master's studies.
It's really
was
good,
great,
isn't it? Yeah.
Very creative ways.
A lot of things can come up as well. Yeah. Yeah, so it just came up in that way. And it came up, I think, a year ago during the first lockdown. So like April, May, or even before, I think, yeah. Yeah, and it's We Are Betrayed is more like a statement to all of the people of this whole New East post-socialist, post-Soviet space who thought that switching to this liberalism and this new Western type of system, that it's going to change their life completely. But it didn't, because this is how I feel. We joined the EU, but nothing really changed in the society of the country where I come from. It's just the same, people don't really change. This is also a statement to, the Russians who are kind of discriminated by many governments of these newly independent countries. And I just believe that the country where I come from, what it does, it's very often unconstitutional, the way it treats the culture, the language, the people. It feels that we are kind of betrayed by our own country, our own government, because there is a story that this state didn't issue passports to Russian people. So my grandmothers were one of those people who didn't have the passport. They had just a paper that said that they're aliens of the state. So it means that they kind of belong to the state, but they're not the citizens. So they don't have the rights to go vote, and they cannot go out of the country. So they're all almost like on a refugee basis. And in this country where I come from, it was 27% of people were like this in the 1991. So it's kind of this "we are betrayed" idea is just this pain about this, because this has also happened to my family. And when I used to live there, I didn't quite realize it, that you don't do this to your own people, right? But then I moved abroad and I realized that this saying, all Russians should go back to Russia, is just crazy. Yeah, and I completely disagree with this position. And and that's why we are betrayed. Yeah.
Just to clarify, or for myself also to understand, you're speaking about the Baltic states, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We don't have to say the country,
no.
but just like to kind
Let's not say the country, yes.
Yeah. Because also, the podcast is about unraveling and kind of distinguishing the different region and the histories. And I think the Russian migration was actually the most, I think, in the Baltic.
In the Baltics, yeah.
One of the singles, one of the 4 tracks of your EP has a video to it.
Yeah.
What's the title of this song?
It's мы обмануты, so we are betrayed. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
the main kind of.
Are you also planning to do videos for the other songs, or how does it? Or this is like the video for the whole kind of EP?
I really wanted to do the video for Красное небо посинело, which is like red sky got blue. So here is a metaphor. I say it really rarely to people. I kind of want them to know, but I'll tell you. So it's like red sky is the flag of Soviet Union, so red with stars and stuff. And then there comes another union, the blue background also with the stars, So it's kind of the metaphor of switching the system, but nothing really changes. The stars are still there. This is how I see it. I'm Eurosceptic, I don't believe in.
You have the right. It's okay.
I just don't believe in it for past few years. Yeah, so I wanted to do the video for that song, but I wanted to do it with my with the people whom I did one video in St. Petersburg 2 years ago, and because of COVID, I cannot go to Russia because I don't have the passport and I don't have the residence permit yet, but I will, hopefully.
Yeah.
And we had this crazy idea what we're gonna do, and it would be in this. We had a concept, everything worked out, and we are really inspired by I Speak and Short Paris, and these are like two big Russian bands who speak in Russian, but the music videos they do are just wow, like about the problems of modern Russia, basically, of the society. Yeah, I wanted to do the similar video with actors and everything, but yep.
COVID.
The plans, yes, a bit shifted. Because it was a good track. It was mixed by my friend from Rostov, Elina, and it's a really, really nice ambient stuff. I worked really hard on it. So I hope that this summer Russia will reopen for tourism and I can go, and do my stuff.
And you sing in Russian.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand Russian. I don't speak Russian. And I was also thinking about it, how actually the Russian language almost like divides the post-Soviet spaces into like the real part of the Soviet Union and the satellite states. And kind of, I was thinking how you see that, and like who is the audience of your songs or of your music, and how important is it actually to speak the language, or for who are you singing?
I think, as I said, I see Russian as this lingua franca of all those states. And all my dearest friends are Russian speaking, but they're not the citizens of Russia. So same as me. And I think for me, it's really important to sing in that language now and to use it in my daily life and to have it as my main kind of work language as well. Because for 18 years of propaganda, it has made me feel as if it is a crime to speak this language.
Yeah, so like what you said at the beginning.
Yeah. So it's exactly. So it's kind of freeing now to, use it and explore it, and it feels eternal in learning the language. There is a lot of words, and I just keep learning, and I keep learning how to write poems, and I keep learning who I am actually, because I'm kind of rebuilding the whole personality with time. And a language really helps, because the way you express yourself, I think, I speak 6 languages, so yes. And Russian feels the most, it's the richest, for me. Yet, because I don't speak French that well yet. But again, I will. In a few months, maybe, yeah.
It's quite fascinating for me that you are so connected to a language, or you're kind of reclaiming it for yourself.
Yeah.
Because, if I think of myself, I speak only 3 languages. Something it's a lot, but compared to you. But I have to say I'm disconnected from all of them. So, I would
so you
say,
don't have the...
No, I would say English is like the language I feel the closest, although it's actually the farthest from me.
Yeah.
And perhaps now I'm getting a bit closer to my German because of living here. Mm-hmm. But Polish seems, very far, since I don't use it. And also I don't know how to write in Polish. If I would write creatively, I would choose English. Although when I'm with English native speakers, I feel very embarrassed. So maybe I should work on that. And I do believe you that it's very empowering.
Yeah. I think it depends on the context, really. So if you are kind of not allowed to do it, as I said, it's not that we weren't allowed to do it. It's just, it was weird. It was weird if you speak that language. If you are that person who is admiring the language and the culture, because it's just in the society in the Baltic states, it's not what you should do. You're immediately perceived that is this occupant, as they say. And that's why in my teenage years, don't get me wrong, I was super patriotic for my country, and I even had a letter from Prime Minister saying that, we are proud of you, of what you're doing. Thank you very much for investment in our culture and arts. And then I left, and then I saw it from, I zoomed out, and I saw that it's the Baltic states is nothing on the world map, right? And then I started to learn really a lot by traveling, by seeing, experiencing. And then I needed something to come back to. And it wasn't my country's language. And then at the moment when I started to rebuild myself, I realized I cannot even think of going back there, speaking it, using it as something mine, Yeah. But I'm happy that I've been through it, that I know really a lot about this culture, language. I have friends who are from there. But still it's not mine, and I have to have something mine and home.
Yeah, it's difficult because I think I was actually exposed to more the other side. Mm-hmm. So let's say people from the Baltics speaking about how they remember from their parents and grandparents how Russian was imposed, So it's almost the other. So I really enjoy actually that you say this part, because I think this makes this whole idea of post-Soviet space is so much more complex. It
is incredibly complex. Sometimes the Russians in the Baltic states, they cannot make peace with Latvians or Lithuanians or Estonians, and the other way around. And it's completely understandable for both sides that you live in the country for 30 years and you refuse to speak that language, for instance. And it's a really big deal, if you go to tax office, you start speaking Russian or, any other language, then you're perceived to be weird. And it's right. It's the same in Germany. You go somewhere, you have to speak the language, right? You don't speak it well, you are Ausländer, and that's you're a foreigner, right? And that's the right way to be, because what the country has its like interests and stuff. But from the other side, from the Russian side, when they have so much pitifulness and hate and disdain to what the governments did to them in the 90s, like not giving passports, not having a right to, they couldn't even get a proper job. So
discrimination, right?
Yeah. If you wanted to get like with this passport, you could never be prosecutor or lawyer. So
like this higher kind of
higher
position.
class jobs you could never take. So it's understandable from both sides, unfortunately. But it changes with the time.
Time heals.
Time heals.
You also sent me some little drawing and sketches of yours.
Yes.
More as a joke, I think, but I really enjoyed also something which was unfinished, or like something coming maybe from your deeper side.
Yes.
And there was a lot of symbols of the Soviet Union there.
And numbers, right? Yeah.
And numbers, exactly, dates. And actually the symbol of this working tools, I see it very often around public spaces in Berlin.
Yeah. People like communism here. That's
what's your take on this symbol? How do you feel about this very, very heavy historically symbol? You like it?
I wouldn't say I like it, because they're both sides to communism, right? The first side is that yes, they sent so many. The Gulag happened, Stalin happened, all those things, all those bad things happened, and it's a really, really heavy history. I'm I feel this weight of this symbol. But on the other hand, under this symbol, it united so many nations, because it was one ideology. And communism came with collectivism. So if here in the West it's capitalism and individualism, then there it was socialism and collectivism. So something that, something very bipolar from the West. And because of this symbol, I feel much more connected to a lot of people from different countries where I've never been. Like I meet someone from Kazakhstan, I immediately feel much more connected to that person rather than a person from UK, Yeah, so there are both sides, but I would never wear it or tattoo it, or I think you should truly understand what this was about. You should read Lenin, and you should read about the 1917 revolution in Russia and what happened afterwards. And the Stalin and Khrushchev, you really have to understand how the state operated. And then you can choose. And I understand that's why I choose not to apply the symbol anywhere.
It stays in your notebook.
Yes.
You don't put it on the walls in Berlin.
No, for sure not. But I also, because I don't like to celebrate the Baltic states' independence days or reclaiming independence days. I sometimes, these were drawings made on the 4th of May, which is like reclaiming independence in 1991. And I kind of make the joke that, it's just numbers, dates, what does it matter? That was kind of a feeling.
This symbol is, I wanted to ask this question because, first of all, I see it a lot here. And I feel it's somehow a bit different depending who draws it or like who uses it.
For sure, yeah.
And I feel a lot of people who read Marx use it very vigorously, and maybe that's a bit...
I mean, Marx was
quick.
great. I really like Karl Marx and Engels, and I really enjoy their monuments all over Berlin. Also because it's part of the history, and you have to remember that the whole idea came from here, from Germany. It didn't came from Russia. Yeah, out of the context. Also depends who sees the symbol, and how they treat it, and yeah. I mean, there is nothing bad to any symbol, right? There is only one bad symbol that I'm not going to say out loud that is bad. And immediately when I say it, I think of the bad Germans. But yeah.
Let's leave the symbols.
yeah. The symbols are tough, yeah.
But moving to Marxists, actually, on your SoundCloud description, you describe yourself as Kravale, as the post-Soviet Rosa Luxemburg of modern Eastern Europe. What's up with that?
What's up, Valerija Luxemburg? Yeah. One of my teachers came up with this one. It was also like a word play. When I wanted to switch to this post-Soviet movement more, which was 2 years ago, when I realized, I feel really connected to it. And he was like, knowing your character, you're kind of Rosa Luxemburg. I was like, okay. So, it just felt right, and it feels very intriguing, right?
Very intriguing, yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's the only English sentence in my SoundCloud.
That's true. Yes. And that's enough. And then just the
that's
music.
Enough. That says enough, exactly.
It's nice. Recently, actually, after I read this, I was like, okay, let's read a bit more about Rosa Luxemburg.
Exactly.
Where are the similarities?
Yeah, and you're from Berlin, so you have to know. Not just that we have a Rosa Luxemburg Platz, but also, that was quite a nice woman, huh?
Yeah, and actually I read that she was Polish or like Polish-Jewish.
Yeah.
And when we walked a week ago, you also told me about your recent project, which you're working on as part of your studies as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's my last project, actually. Yeah.
And it's a research on the nostalgia evoked by Soviet cinema, and most importantly, the music in those films.
Yeah. It's actually, I narrowed it down only to Soviet films that were made in the 70s. And because I realized that there is a lot of songs that you sing a melody and every Russian-speaking person knows them, no matter the age or the country of origin. It's just something amazing if you think about it. And it's not like, there was no radio, it wasn't like a pop music, but the films, that's my theory only, but like the movies, they were available to everyone on the TV. And that's why the music from the movies became kind of a mainstream pop culture. Yeah. It's also a very memorable music. So the melodies, the way they were written, are written by very, very smart musicians and composers. So I came up with this idea in December because I finished the Constant Flux and I had to do my last project that I'm doing right now for my thesis. And I had to start composing something, and I realized that it really intrigues me. Like maybe there are some certain constraints that they use, some certain scales, some certain something. And I started to analyze, and I realized that yes, there's actually quite a few tricks. All this music is written by only a few composers, and they all get their education at Moscow Conservative. Yes, so it's really, really, really funny how roughly 3-5 people have shaped the minds and the tastes of millions of people. Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Do you have some movies which you want to recommend? Some classics, perhaps.
Some classics from Soviet times. I think there's actually, it's really funny because in my bachelor's, I'm not really allowed to use Russian. So I have to translate the names of the...
In the thesis, you mean,
in
right?
the thesis, yeah.
The written text. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have to translate the names. So, for instance, there is a Приключения электроника, which was a lot of Soviet movies. They were just like adaptation of the Western movies, right? So there was this, I guess, in the 60s, this whole sci-fi topic of someone going into the future and coming back was really popular. So the Soviets had their own kind of answer to that, which was Приключения электроника and Adventures of iRobot, I call it. I mean, it's not iRobot, it's like electronic, it's like the name. Then from the classics, I would say there is a really good cartoon, Ну погоди, which is like this wolf running, and yeah, it was quite funny. I used to love it in my childhood. I'm not a fan of the Soviet films, but I really like the post-Soviet, so something that was like 90s and the beginning of 2000s. Actually, there is a really good movie, Brat 2 from 2002, and it's legendary for Russia because it portrayed St. Petersburg in the 90s, like the 90s, the 90s mood. And unfortunately, in 2003, on the filming set of the next movie of the franchise, the main actor died. And he became like, if America has a Superman, that we have Sergei Bodrov, it's like, yeah, it's like a really big part of our culture. And he's like a a Russian superhero. And he's quite cute, yeah. yeah. So, Brat 2 means brother 2, yeah. And then there is a really good movie that I enjoyed so much recently, and I watched it like 5 times. It's from 2006, and it's called 02 Lilac, Lithuania. And it's also a comedy thriller about how business is done in Lithuania, and it's just a incredibly funny movie, kind of Guy Ritchie, Tarantino style, and but in Lithuania, it's amazing.
Great, thanks so much. That's quite a list.
Yeah, you should watch it. Yes.
Yeah, slowly we are reaching the end of our talk. Before we start talking about some food things, I wanted to ask if you have anything else to add. You have quite some notes there, so maybe there was
because
something
I always kind of forget what I wanted to say, so I kind of like mark my talking points. But it's good; it's much better than I talk some I don't know what, and then I'm not responsible for what I said. I think it's I grew into this now. I grew up a bit. No, I don't think there's anything else to say. Oh no, I wrote the third movie that I really liked, which is a bit more recent, 2017, by Georgian director Khachvani, and it's called Dede, which is about women in Caucasus and how they try to live normal life. It's Caucasus. the women have to be in the kitchen in the Caucasus. Yeah, it's a really it's a drama movie, but it's a really good one from Georgia.
By the way, talking about Georgia, thanks for recommending me this.
The wine, it's good, right?
Wine shop in Berlin. I will also give some promotion to it in the show notes.
Yeah, definitely. It's really great, and I think we should really support the locals right now.
Yeah. So what is your favorite food from home? What do you like to eat when you are nostalgic?
Well, I'm used to say that I don't have a home, but I feel belong to this post-Soviet space. So I would say that the food that I eat when I'm homesick is the food from any state in the post-Soviet. So I really love Abkhazian kitchen. I mean, when I first was in Sochi, The way they make aubergines, it's like, wow, there was nothing better than that. And I really like Khinkali it's the Georgian cuisine.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Yes, it's really good. So it's like this big dumplings with the water.
They look also super amazing.
They're just, and it's real meat inside, with some species. Yeah, it's really good. Now I'm hungry.
Nice.
Yeah, and sometimes when I'm a bit sad, I make Russian pancakes, with a lot of jam and condensed milk. Yeah.
I like those also.
Yeah, they're really good.
I eat them with white cheese, with sweet white cheese.
Yeah, also.
And jam.
Hungry.
Great. So let's have some food maybe.
Yeah, for sure. No, but we have really nice cookies here on the table, so I think I'm gonna survive. Yeah,
we will eat them. All right. Thank you so much, Valeria, for the talk, and I really enjoyed that we found kind of the balance between your projects, but also more kind of cultural, political aspects of the complex
very complex topic. Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a really nice talk.
Thank you. And that was it for today. Thanks so much for reaching till the end of this quite long episode. I will see you next time with another amazing artist and speaker. And as mentioned at the beginning, you can check out my Patreon account on patreon.com/kitchenconversations. And if you cannot or do not want to support, that's totally all right. Instead, you can also like my Instagram profile, Patrycja Rozwora, or leave a comment on one of the podcast players. Take good care, and I see you next time.